Welcome to SATV News. This is Kazi Farhana with your headlines. No local or international pressure to bring Awami League into polls. The CS Press Secretary. Next election will be milestone in democratic history. Vegetable prices ease in capital's kitchen markets as winter products arrive. New US sanctions soon to affect Russian economy, says Vladimir Putin. Moscow's response will be very serious. Now in details. There is no local or international pressure on the government to bring the Ulster Awami League into the electoral race, said Chief Advisor Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam today. Talking to reporters after placing a wreath at the July Memorial along the banks of the Naboganga River in the Maguras Chodur, he also said the Election Commission has repeatedly stated that the Awami League will not be able to participate in the upcoming national polls. Everyone is questioning the autocratics committed by the Awami League during July and August, when hundreds of students and ordinary people were killed, he added. Besides, he said, even after so many days, the Awami League has shown no remorse. Referring to previous elections, Mr. Shafiqul asserted that the representation of the people order is being amended to prevent a repeat of uncontested seats, recalling the one-sided 2014 election in which 154 Awami League candidates were declared elected unopposed. Mr. Shafiqul said people were deprived of the right to vote at the time. A total of 151 people have been arrested in joint drives conducted by law enforcement agencies across Bangladesh over the past week to maintain public order. According to an ISPR press release today, from October 16 to 23, units under various army divisions and brigades, in coordination with other agencies, carried out raids in Dhaka and several districts. The operations also led to the seizure of arms, explosives and drugs. Recovered items include 13 illegal firearms, ammunition, explosive narcotics and stolen goods. The detainees have been handed over to local police for legal action. ISPR say the army continues regular patrols and assists in fire control and labor unrest management. Similar operations will continue nationwide to ensure public safety. Vegetable prices have eased compared to last week as the supply of winter vegetables in the market has already increased. The price of eggs has also started to decline, while the prices of edible oil, sugar and salt have remained largely unchanged. A visit to several markets in the capital revealed this scenario. Beans are selling for Taka 120 to Taka 140 per kg, radish for Taka 60 to Taka 80 per kg, while each cauliflower and cabbage cost between Taka 50 and Taka 80 depending on size and quality, though they remain relatively in small size. Bottle golds are priced at Taka 50 to Taka 80 a piece, depending on size and quality. Meanwhile, prices of summer vegetables have also started to decline slightly due to the increased supply of winter varieties. Long eggplants are selling for Taka 80 to Taka 90 per kg, while round eggplants are Taka 100 to 120 per kg. Court to sent 9 Indian fishermen to jail for violating maritime boundaries in Bagarhat. Earlier on Wednesday, Bangladesh Navy arrested the Indian fishermen along with the fishing trawler for illegally entering Bangladesh waters and fishing in the Bay of Bengal. According to Mongla Puzila Senior Fisheries Officer MD Zahidul Islam, Bangladesh Navy detained the trawler from the deep sea near the Fairway buoy, close to the Mongla seaport, while it was illegally fishing within Bangladesh maritime boundary. Later, the detained Indian fishermen and the trawler were handed over to Mongla police at the ferryঘাট. The seized Indian fishing boat contained approximately 1.5 metric tons of tuna fish, which will be dealt with later according to court directives. At least 2 people were killed and 10 others injured after a bus overturned and fell into a roadside ditch in Sunamganj, Pagla Bazar earlier today around 5:30 a.m. The bus lost control and overturned while traveling from Dhaka to Sunamganj, leaving 2 people dead on the spot and several others injured, said police. The identities of the deceased could not be confirmed immediately. Confirming the incident, Jaikoloj Highway Police Officer Shuman Kumar Chaudhary said the accident occurred due to excessive speed. Police have recovered the bodies while the injured were taken to hospitals in Sylhet and Sunamganj for treatment. Meanwhile, 3 people were killed on Thursday night when a passenger bus hit an auto rickshaw on the Dhaka-Sylhet highway in Madhobdev Upazila of the district. The accident took place around 11:30 p.m. in the Randi area, and police said. Viewers, we're taking a short break. Stay with us.
Grand Palace, 5-star chain hotel, Zinda Bazar, Sylhet. Local and international cuisines. Exclusive banquet hall for all events. 5-star luxurious rooms and suites with bulletproof glass. Fiberglass swimming pool. Relaxing spa. Well-equipped gym. Experience panoramic beauty at SATV restaurant. Welcome to Grand Palace Hotel. Grand Palace Hotel and Resorts, Jollar Par, Zinda Bazar, Sylhet, Bangladesh.
বাংলাদেশে দীর্ঘ ৩৭ বছরের সাফল্যের অগ্রযাত্রায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন আধুনিক ও শৈল্পিক স্থাপত্য শিল্পের দেশ মালয়েশিয়ার কুয়ালালামপুরে। লাখো গ্রাহকদের প্রয়োজনের দিক লক্ষ্য রেখে নিশ্চিত বিশ্বস্ততা ও আন্তর্জাতিক মানের সেবা এখন ডোর টু ডোর। এসএ পরিবহন কুরিয়ার অ্যান্ড পার্সেল সার্ভিস SDN BHT 120 Jalan HS Lee 50050 Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস আপনার সেবায় সবসময়।
Explore the magnificent view of Rangpur. 5-star facilities, rich chain hotel, Grand Palace. Relax in spacious rooms and suites. Enjoy local and international cuisines. Banquet and conference room.
Welcome back to watching SATV News. News from abroad. US President Donald Trump said on Thursday all trade talks with Canada were terminated following what he called a fraudulent advertisement in which former and elect President Ronald Reagan spoke negatively about tariffs. Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum and autos earlier this year, prompting Ottawa to respond in kind. The two sides have been in talks for weeks on a potential deal for the steel and aluminum sectors. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said earlier this week that ad from this province with anti-tariff messaging had caught Trump's attention. The ad showed Reagan, a Republican, criticizing tariffs on foreign goods while saying they cause job losses and trade wars. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation issued a statement late on Thursday saying the ad by the government of Ontario was using selective audio and video of Reagan and that the foundation was reviewing its legal options. President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday that Russia would never bow to pressure from the United States or any other country. US sanctions are an unfriendly act and will have certain consequences, but they will not significantly affect Russia's economy's well-being, Putin said. Russia's energy sector feels confident, he said. This is, of course, an attempt to put pressure on Russia, Putin said, but no self-respecting country and no self-respecting people ever decides anything under pressure. Putin said breaking the balance in the global energy markets could lead to a hike in prices that would be uncomfortable for countries such as the United States, especially given the internal political calendar in the United States. The Russian president further said that Moscow's response to strike deep into Russia would be very serious and overwhelming.
Но ни одна уважающая себя страна и ни один уважающий себя народ никогда ничего не.
Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said military brotherhood between his country and Russia would advance non-stop. Kim made their comments during a speech at the groundbreaking ceremony held on Thursday for a memorial for North Korean soldiers who fought alongside Russian troops in Russia's Kursk region during Moscow's ongoing war with Ukraine, the state news agency KCN said. The event was latest public honoring of the North Korean troops who fought in Russia to repel an incursion by Ukrainian forces.
김정은 동지께서는 오늘 우리는 조선인민의 우수한 길이 전하기 위한 전투 이훈 기념관 건설에 첫삽을 뜨는
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro issued a warning on Thursday, ordering the country's working class to launch a general insurgency strike and take up arms if the United States attempts any intervention in Venezuela. Speaking at an event in Caracas, Maduro declared that workers, peasants, and fishermen would serve as the greatest shield the country has against foreign aggression. If they dare not, Putin will move into this country, he said. They would see the parade of the millions of men and women with rifles in the fighting forces of the working classes, the peasant, fishermen, and the neighborhoods throughout the country, he added. Maduro's comments come amid heightened tensions as the U.S. military has significantly increased its Caribbean presence in recent weeks. Since early September, U.S. forces have conducted multiple strikes against suspended drug vessels in the Caribbean and Pacific, killing nearly 40 people. The Pentagon has confirmed that some strikes occurred near the Venezuelan waters. President Donald Trump has also indicated plans to strike ground targets inside Venezuela, which would mark a major escalation in U.S. operations against the South American nation. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Thursday said she did not agree with U.S. strikes on boats off the coast of South America when asked about the recent deadly attacks on what the U.S. has claimed are drug traffickers. There are international laws on how to operate when dealing with the alleged illegal transport of drugs or guns or international waters, and we have expressed this to government of the United States and publicly. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Thursday that U.S. individuals are involved in smuggling fuel into the country, following a Reuters investigation into the illicit trade that showed how narcos have penetrated the North American energy sector. Sheinbaum said she did not know if Econ Midstream was a part of Mexican investigations related to alleged fuel smuggling. But two Mexican security sources told Reuters that a tanker delivery by Econ Midstream of the diesel to Mexico in March is part of a probe into the illicit trade.
Bombas de Estados Unidos a dos supuestas narcolanchas.
State Marco Rubio met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem on Thursday to continue overseeing Gaza deal implementation. Rubio's trip comes as a bill applying to Israel's law to the West Bank, a move tournament of the annexation of a territory that Palestinians seek for a part of a future independent state, won preliminary approval from Israeli lawmakers on Wednesday. Rubio has said that the Israeli Knesset's move towards the annexation of the West Bank could endanger Trump's plan to end the conflict in Gaza, which has produced a shaky ceasefire so far. Rubio's visit to Israel is the latest by scenarios officials seeking to keep alive a fragile truce between Israel and Hamas.
But the president has made this a top priority, I think, as evidenced by the fact that both Steve Woodcock and Jared Kushner.
Israeli protesters gathered near Kerem Shalom border crossing on Friday in an attempt to block humanitarian aid going into Gaza. One of the demonstrators attempting to block the road said they were there due to what they say was Hamas breaking the condition of the ceasefire. The World Health Organization said on Thursday aid to Gaza was still only a fraction of what's needed, as the health agency attempts to rebuild the region's healthcare system. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said while humanitarian deliveries were increasing, rebuilding Gaza's medical infrastructure could likely cost at least $7 billion. The 2-year-long Israel-Hamas war is currently in a ceasefire under a U.S. brokered agreement. Palestinian health authorities pegged the number of the casualties in the Gaza Strip at more than 67,000 people, with nearly a third of the dead under the age of 18. Japan's new Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi pledged on Friday to accelerate a defense against the target by 2 years as her government pursues provocative fiscal expansion on the strategic priorities. In her first policy speech, Takaichi told Parliament that Japan aims to reach a defense spending goal of 2% of gross domestic product in the current fiscal year through March, ahead of the original target of fiscal 2027. Japan must take the initiative in radically strengthening its defense capabilities, she said. The defense target underscores Takaichi's commitment to spending the terms provocative in a bid to stimulate economic growth, based on her argument that a strong economy is a prerequisite for sound fiscal policy. This cabinet will adopt the principle that fiscal policy must be underpinned by economic fundamentals. Strategic measures will be taken on the basis of responsible and provocative fiscal policy to build a strong economy, she added. An advocate of the expansionary fiscal and monetary policy, Takaichi also vowed to maintain market confidence and achieve sustainable public finances by reducing government debt as a share of GDP. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said he's held talks on Turkey plan to get Eurofighter Typhoon fighter jets from the Qatar and Oman during a regional tour to the Gulf, adding that discussions were going well. Speaking to reporters on a return flight from the last leg of the Gulf tour in Oman, Erdogan said Turkey was continuing to hold talks with both Qatar and Oman on the procurement, and that the discussions, which included many technical details, were moving in a positive direction. We want to conclude this rapidly and, God willing, make our Air Force much stronger. Our Air Force will become much stronger with these jets, said Erdogan. Pakistan banned an Islamist party for the second time in 4 years on Thursday, a week after 5 people died in clashes between members and police. Followers of the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan party took up the streets for an anti-Israel protest march ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a ceasefire deal to end the Gaza war. Pakistan's cabinet unanimously approved the ban, the government said in a statement. The TLP is involved in terrorist and violent activities, it added. The group said it rejected the ban, calling it unconstitutional, vindictive, illegal and dictatorial in a statement. A fire is sparked by a fuel leak following a collision of a private bus and motorcycle on the road between India's southern tech cities of the Bengaluru and Hyderabad, killing at least 20 people, local media reportedly on Friday, citing officials. Of the 41 passengers, 21 have been rescued, a district revenue official told local media. Among the remaining, the bodies of 11 have been identified so far. A similar accident last month killed 19 people in the western desert state of Rajasthan, where a private bus caught fire. Peru's anti-protest movement is doubling down on its political change, announcing plans to draft legislation repealing what they call pro-crime laws while defending their constitutional right to demonstrate despite government pushback. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday, movement spokesperson George Calmet declared that protesters would continue talking to the streets regardless of the opposition from authorities. The youth-led movement announced that it is working with the Lynn Bar Association to draft legislation to repeal laws and restore democratic reforms. Their proposals include eliminating congressional immunity, ending lawmaker re-election, repealing the bicameral system, and restoring the referendum rights. The Zandir protesters have been joined by the transport drivers and merchants frustrated with rising insecurity, corruption, scandals, and economic instability. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro said on Thursday that a suspension of aid from the United States would mean nothing to his country, but that changes to military aid could have an effect on capacity. U.S. President Donald Trump threatened over the weekend to raise tariffs on the South American country and said Wednesday that all funding to the South American country had been halted. Petro has objected to the U.S. military strikes against vessels in the Caribbean, which have killed dozens of people and inflamed tensions in the region. Many legal experts and human rights activists have also condemned the action.
Estados Unidos en este tipo de acciones está cometiendo ejecuciones.
Before ending, we go through the headlines again. No local or international pressure to bring Awami League into polls, CS Press Secretary. Next election will be a milestone in democratic history. Vegetable prices ease in capital's kitchen markets as winter products arrive. New US sanctions won't affect Russian economy, says Vladimir Putin. Moscow's response will be very serious. You're updated with the top stories so far here on SATV, and to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.